Hi, everybody. This is Dr. David Fletcher, and I want to thank you for joining us on this really wonderful journey that we're referring to as Under the Hood. You know, it was always our dream to build this wonderful chiropractic company that was built by chiropractors for chiropractors. And CLA has proven that over and over and over again, it's that that essence of what chiropractic stands for. So we had this great idea of actually creating this program for you. That's a 4-part series of what's known as Under the Hood. Now, why do we call it that? Well, we wanted to show you what it's like when you think chiropractic at chiropractic and have this big vision as to what it could be to be in this business of chiropractic and maybe not be in practice. We thought that if you went under the hood, you could get a chance to see sort of how this iconic company never lost its way with its core values, and more importantly, embrace them to build an even bigger and better message that's going out. Now, we're right at that intersection in time where technology, 29 years ago when CLA started, technology, they didn't even have fax machines back then. And technology now has become the leverage point for everybody to tell their story and to manage their business and to grow their company. And so what a great idea for us to put together this message build, which is the Under the Hood series. And we want you to gain the most you can out of it. So it's my pleasure to introduce CLA's Chief Experience Officer, Lisa Marie, or LM as you'll hear me speak to her. LM, welcome to this first edition of the Under the Hood.
Hi, thank you so much. I am so excited about this series. We are going to cover branding, which is
no kidding.
My passion, my topic, everything that I kind of live for at CLA and in the world, my purpose. And we're going to cover service, the service department at CLA and that customer experience. We're going to cover sales. We're going to cover leadership at the end of the 4 weeks with you, and really how your vision has shaped CLA over your tenure of leadership in the company, and where it's going. So
why don't I jump in and sort of tell them our story as to how you got involved with CLA, because you were really involved in chiropractic when I got to know you. You'd taken a little bit of a pause, in other words, to go and explore what your passion is and what your strength is, which is branding. So, the story as it goes was that we were running along and building this model of CLA, and it never wavered, but you have to get out there and tell people the story. So of course I started by saying, well, what we need is a website, and we've always had one, but a real website. So I reached out and hired Lisa Marie for a website. And what did you tell me?
Oh, it was funny. So at the time I was running my own company. I was doing brand development, and I was in a very, very different industries, right? Chiropractic still always had my heart. And he said, well, take a look at my website. Let me know what you think. And we start talking. We build a relationship. Of course, Nancy's involved in the conversation. We're looking at everything that CLA stood for at the time. This is 2015 probably. And I was like, you don't need a website. You need a brand. What do you mean I need a brand? I think it was probably
CLA's an iconic brand. What do you mean? All the rest of it,
And I'm like, we got to revisit, since, you bought the company in 2011, right? So there hadn't been up until that point a real, stake in the ground of, I'm Dr. David Fletcher. This is my company now. There wasn't a clear message in the universe of chiropractic of who CLA belonged to. It was it was out there. And how do you make it yours? How do you make it your vision, your brand, and keep it, keep the message and the history with it?
And the website was not the model that needed to be started with. I mean, you need a website, but as we found out, you got to go through this branding.
So you have to go through branding, and of course, what does that mean? And I had to cover all the points of, we had to look at every area, right? And so one of the things that I brought to the table is my approach to branding, and that's what I really want to share today with you guys watching, is this 5-point pyramid. If you're a chiropractor looking to build your brand, and we can get to that in a second, but why it's so important to have a brand, if you don't mind, if we talk about that for a second.
Well, and it's not only a brand for CLA, and I think this is why it's so important to look under the hood, is that what I learned is, through CLA's experience looking at it with a branding, specialist like this, is that if you're not crystal clear with the message, you live in a fractured world, and what better way to exemplify a lost opportunity for branding than to look at chiropractic itself.
Yeah, and so one of the things we did, my first layer of my pyramid is always creating a solid foundation. And in doing that, we embarked on a really exciting adventure of identifying mission, vision, core values, which sounds super hokey and is very buzzword and very Zappos, and I get it. And they're very useful if you use them and if you really mean them. And our mission at CLA that we're really serious about, as of definitely a couple of years ago, has been to get an insight at the hub of every practice.
Correct.
So
worldwide,
so that we can standardize the message of chiropractic and to how patients perceive chiropractic. So one thing that we know, and we're just going to say it out loud, whether it offends you or not, I really don't care. Chiropractic is fractured.
It is.
And people look at it, I can go to a chiropractor in New Jersey or Las Vegas and have a completely different experience. That's a problem. Chiropractic is one of the only professions I've been in, and I've worked in many, that try to, put their fellow chiropractor and throw them under the bus and put them down and talk badly about each other, which literally breaks the whole point of the credibility to begin with. Like, if you don't trust each other, how are we going to trust you as a patient? Because I'm not a chiropractor, right? But if you're in chiropractic, you do know is that it's this amazing industry filled with healers and love and an alternative lifestyle that a lot of people are not yet aware of. And one way that we at CLA can help make that better is to bring the insight into every practice so that you're all telling the same story. And that's something that's really at the heart of our company now. And our core values help us achieve that. Our purpose helps us achieve that, our team. And that being said, we started with that strong core foundation. So one of the things you really want to do when you're building a brand is identify the mission, the vision, the values, and not just what you think people want to hear. And I could go on all day about this.
Well, you did go on all day, and I'm going to just interrupt with that because, I'm an outcome guy. To be very clear, it's like, let's go A to B to C to D. And, as much as I love the warm fuzzies, I want outcomes that are affiliated with it. And so in the starting process of this branding, which I want you to know, we sat around in a round table, the key people that were in CLA at that time, dedicated to this idea that what we had to do more than anything was come up with something that wasn't Zappos, as you said, but it was really to tell us what we wanted. And I was like, oh my God, this is like pulling nose hairs and poking me with pins in the eyes. Just get to the point. And the reality is that we got into this immersion model of looking at what the brand meant, and it all started to make sense. The cheese of the vision, mission, and purpose all started to actually make sense.
So picture a pyramid. You're going to start with building that core foundation. Now, if you're anything like Dr. Fletcher 2 years ago, you're saying, I need a website. I need a marketing funnel. I need to hire somebody. I need somebody to do social media. I have to be relevant. I don't have time to stop and build a brand. You do, and you have to if you want your mission and you want to heal more patients. If you want to be perceived as credible and certain in your community, doing the process I'm going to take you through will be critical to your success. So first, you build that core foundation. Then you want to really build a system of support on top of that layer, right? So you have your foundation identified. A lack of systems would basically morph and change with no clear direction. So when you have a clear direction, you could actually build systems that will stay in place over time.
So give me an example when you're talking branding of a system that supports you.
You're going to love this.
All right, good.
Where do you keep your digital files? Where do you save things? I can't tell you how many
pins
times.
Pins in the eye.
You're a web developer that you're going to hire to pay $2,000 or $5,000 or $6,000 or $900 on Fiverr to try to build your website, or the next guy that sells you a marketing funnel is going to try to shove down your throat all of these things that you need. But the one thing they need are assets for your company. They need your logo. They need your colors. They need your headshots. They need your, oh my gosh, these are files. Yeah. This is copy you have to write. This is stuff that will support your overall message and brand that will help bring you credibility. So what do? You have to save them someplace. So you need a Dropbox or an Ignite or a file sharing system that's going to be secure. And for you as a doctor, HIPAA compliant, that's going to be very important. Google Drive. What is it where you're staying organized? Other types of systems. Who's your EHR provider? What technology are you going to integrate into your practice? If you're going with an insight because you'd like to have objective findings, how is that system going to fit within your current model? It's not hard, but it's necessary. That kind of leads us into that third tier, right? So we're on the third layer, knowing the plan for your product or service. So for you, it's chiropractic. So I have been a patient of chiropractic now for like
decades.
Yeah, long time. aromatherapy, massage, acupuncture. I offer, I'm going to take vials on your arm and tell you have allergies as NAT, right? I don't even know. There's so many.
But, they all have their place.
They have their place.
And we're not judging that here because, listen, chiropractors love being alternative to the main line.
Absolutely. Not a problem if you do it, but know the plan. So your very first priority is as a chiropractor. Your very first priority is to adjust, is to heal, is to have a relationship with that patient. Now, if you want to add in an ancillary service as a second story or have a massage therapist in your office, if you're doing that, it's fine. But if you're doing that without a plan and without the system to support it and without that foundation, it could fracture the patient experience. And here's the reality. You go to a dentist, and I always use this analogy in chiropractic. If I go to a dentist in New Jersey, which is where I used to live, and I get a cavity filled, pretty much the same experience. Round you up, thing, and then you're going to go on your way. You may drool a little bit, life moves on. Get a cavity filled in Vegas, pretty much the same thing. Maybe it's a different piece of technology. Maybe they're implementing something a little different, but for the most part, you can expect the same thing. You're going to go in for your cleanings, you have your x-ray every other visit, and this is how a cavity is filled. You go to a chiropractor in one location and they're doing one type of adjustment. They're going in another. Maybe it's just instrument based. So there's different techniques, there's different language, there's different styles. It's really critical that we're not bashing each other as chiropractors, but we're supporting. What if I said, hey, I just came from a chiropractor that just does instrument based work, but you do manual manipulation, right? What would you say to me?
Well, I think that what you bring more than anything is that it's consistency that matters. What I heard you say about dentistry is drill, fill, bill, and everybody kind of knows that's the story of dentistry, at least at that level. And there's all different hybrids of it, cosmetic and otherwise. But the reality is that when somebody goes to a chiropractor, unless they have that consistency, they don't know what they're getting, and that destroys brand. And so one of the things that we made a decision in that brand.
Now you really know who you are, what's going to support who you are, what it is that you offer, what your product is, what your services are. And now you know how you can present them, how you can talk about them, how you can be so certain about what you offer that it creates that immediate trust visually and verbally to your patients. Not just a website, right? This is the fun part. Your brand can be everything from what you wear, how you speak, what your social media defines you as, how you quirky things that you have in your office that are just you, right? Like little things. And then also your website, your business cards, the groups you belong to, your affiliates, your relationships. These are all elements of your brand. A brand is not one thing. Whether you're marketing yourself or because you're a company or just because of who you are and how you want to be represented, it's really key and it's clear.
And I just have to be crystal clear with this. This is step 4. Before you get a chance to present your brand, you have to have that clarity. You have to have that certainty that, if I'm going down through the steps that I was going on here, is that, with your foundation, mission, vision, and otherwise, and you have that sense of certainty as you get to this step 4, it really leads you to the most exciting part, which I think many people completely invert this pyramid triangle, whatever else
we'll get to that,
they go to try and I'll let you say what number 5 is.
Everybody always puts this usually as the first one before even website.
Every digital marketer does. They kill it.
How to communicate your message.
Yeah.
This is so, so important. So whether it's talking about what you do to people or actually trying to build a marketing funnel or hiring a marketing company. We've been working together for a few years now.
Yeah.
We've recently just brought on a marketing team.
Yeah.
Not because we weren't ready necessarily, but because the timing wasn't right. Why? Because we had to have certain messaging and milestones achieved because a marketing company doesn't know your story. You know your story. You have to know your story in and out before you share it with the world. And you have to get comfortable with your message. You have to get comfortable with what you're telling people. You let somebody else create your funnel and write your marketing copy and you've got this great guy on Fiverr that's going to do it, or you use some other service, it's not your message. And then when that patient comes through the door, the website doesn't match to what the funnel said, the paperwork has inconsistencies and doesn't match the core value, there is none, right? There's not that cohesion, they're confused, and we know confused people don't buy, whether it's a service or anything.
So here's the takeaway from number 5 there. Don't hire a marketing company to tell you what your brand is.
Yeah.
In other words,
what your brand is.
You can't start with number 5. You can't go to a marketing company. You can't go to a digital marketer. You can't necessarily go to, anybody who is charismatic and really all of that, and listen to them and say, tell me about who I am. Tell me what my brand should be to the marketplace. No. That's going to take you down a path that is going to frustrate you, because at the end of the day, you'll be branded to what that person's or that company's perspective is of chiropractic, and that's not you. So we've already gone through the idea that, chiropractors, especially small business owners and otherwise, they make these mistakes in terms of getting their inverted triangle. And it's kind of natural in chiropractic, as we talk about the 5 Ps.
So many industries.
Yeah, and the rest of it. And you're going to get a chance in subsequent ones to listen to service and sales and perhaps my visionary one. But when it comes to branding, let me ask you this. Is there an experience of doing this by yourself, or should somebody actually sit with you so you can have that dialogue to get it out of your head? If you're a solo practitioner and you know that you want to tell the story of chiropractic through your lens, how the heck do you start building the brand? Is it yours? Like, do you sit with somebody? I was lucky enough to meet you. What do you do? Because we have the resources at CLA, to hire somebody to do this. What's a good way to try and reach inside yourself to get your brand out of you?
I think what's really important is, even at a personal level, before you do it with your business, you kind of do it for yourself.
Okay.
So this 5-step process will work in any application, and it works with yourself as well. What I mean by that is, it's really easy. One of the things I used to say to business owners before they ever hired me is I was never wrong. As a solo practitioner or business owner, you may hire somebody to do your social media, somebody to do your website, somebody to do your marketing, somebody to do your front desk, a system that's going to handle your billing. None of them talk to each other. So you're trying to adjust and run a busy practice, and maybe you have a family and kids, and you have a life outside of your practice, I hope, right? And you're trying to manage 10 different vendors, 10 different personalities that are all pulling you in this different direction. So what I did was I served as that middleman between multiple vendors, right? Getting
Correct.
Everybody on the same page so I could leverage their specific talents to make an outcome happen. And we do that every day at CLA. Yeah. I think if you're a solo practitioner and you are looking to build a brand and you want to start small, look inward. Where am I at today? What resources?
Great advice.
Yeah. What
Great
resources
advice.
do I have? How do I build my foundation so then I can support other people? How do I build my systems to set myself up and then other people to succeed, my business and personally? And then, how do you position your product, your service, your message, your brand, and all of that, and communicate it? But you can start small. And I always say, go fast, or go slow to go fast.
Although it always seems as if the easy way is to start at number 5 and go back to there, I think you're hearing very clearly that the dirt time, the hard part, that makes it easy as you go down for a lifetime. Once you get your brand set, let me tell you, it's a piece of cake after that. Your brand represents your core values represent who you are, and all of a sudden, your entire organization is based upon the idea of serving to the core values, which is the principles. That's the hard part, is going and looking deeper. So I kind of set you up for that because I wanted you to say exactly that, is that it isn't necessarily something that you have to go and buy and pay a consultant for. And otherwise, we have the resources to do it, and we couldn't look inward. There were so many fractured little stories going on. And, I inherited an awful lot of stories as I started to take this on. And I spent an awful lot of my early years in running CLA, kind of appeasing people and doing it. And when we finally got to the point where just doing what you will do is looking down and having somebody, in this case, a master marketer, give us this moderation, we got to the point where we went, aha, these are the core values that drive us. Our brand is crystal clear now. And I hope it shows. I hope it shows as you even are tuning into this. So, as I said, we could go on and on and on forever, and we should probably. But the reality is that we want you in this series to look under the hood. I think you're getting the idea that just like chiropractic, it's an above, down, inside, and out principle, is that the more you do that dirt time, the more you do that hard, easy experience, the greater your expression of who you are and what you stand for. But we'd like to make it just a little bit easier for you by giving you that look under the hood. So I hope you've enjoyed this. LM, thank you so much for being part of this. And just wait until you see the service story, which is going to happen in session 2.
Yeah.
And you get a chance to meet a master salesperson, the guy who's the master of the close in Brock, who is going to teach you, the greatest sales strategies that happen when you get this brand going. And I might chip in a little bit on what culture and visioneering does. So we'll take a look at that. But anyhow, I want to thank all of you for participating. Remember, you can always reach us at insightcla.com. So have a great one, everybody, and we'll talk to you next time. Thanks, Ellen.
Absolutely.